Sweet, sweet Jamaica. Have you ever considered migrating to the mystical island of Jamaica? Join me, Michelle Moore, and special guests as we explore the world of Jamaica with those at home in Jamaica and those away in the diaspora, right here on the Home and Away Show. Hello, my people, and welcome to Home and Away Jamaica. Yes, this is your host, Michelle Moore, and oh my, it feels so good to be back on these airwaves. I know it's been a while since you've heard my voice, but I was wrapping up a few things in London and I've now returned to the Rock and settled in. I have had some vacation time and I've also been working on giving you your own dedicated website for Home and Away Jamaica. So here we have it, homeandawayjamaica.com. You need to check it out. This is the platform for you to connect, engage and interact with everything Home and Away Jamaica. So if you've migrated already, looking for personal professional connections, you can join our social network, which is exclusive to expats and returnees on the island. Or you may be thinking about migrating. You need some advice and some direction. You can ask one of our Home and Away Jamaica reps on the website who are willing and able to give you their personal experience and direction on how to migrate or set up a business. Whatever query or question you have, you can ask them and they'll be more than happy to get back to you directly. And obviously the show Home and Away Jamaica podcast, where we share migrating experiences. So you can still hear the podcasts of those personal experiences, collaborate and engage in the material that's happening right here in Jamaica. So there we have it. Go tell your friends and your family. And I know there's a lot of you out there that are raring to go. So check it out and spread the word. So here we have it, a whole new series of podcasts live and direct from Kingston, Jamaica. This week we'll be speaking to Richard Wright. Richard was born in Jamaica and spent most of his life in the US, but he always had this burning desire to return to the Rock, invest in Jamaica and build his childhood dream home on the island. And he has done just that, and not just a home. He has built Millbrooks Resort, which is a magnificent boutique villa complex in Montego Bay. You need to check it out. It's absolutely spectacular. He also owns a campsite and horse rescue facility on the resort, and there's still so much more he wants to do, but let him tell you a lot more about his Jamaican journey. Hi Richard, welcome to the show. So tell us more about this childhood dream and where this all started.
Well, it wasn't really supposed to be a resort per se. This was supposed to be my return home, dream home after I returned from living in the States. It's just that, my main focus was developing the ecotourism aspect of our service that we have here. So seeing, how this building unfolded, and, we figured I could really complement the ecotourism part, so we decided to, turn it into a villa. So it was really supposed to be a home, not really per se a resort per se. This started over maybe 9 years ago. Here we are today, trying to, make something of it and trying to provide a quality service for all our guests throughout the world to come and enjoy, and also to see Jamaica, the rural areas of Jamaica in particular, where people normally don't go. But there's a great deal of interest now into ecotourism, even, because like most sensible persons that go to a country, they want to see what that country is all about, and you won't see what a country is about when you stay behind, security walls and you just stay on a hotel property. So there's a great deal of push for guests that come to Jamaica to go and experience the outdoors of Jamaica, particularly in a rural setting, and to mingle with the local folks. So I think, that's where the ecotourism will definitely, move in the right direction. Because, and at the same time, what we're doing here is offering two types of service, and one for people that I guess that want to be pampered, and also another side where folks that love the outdoors, camping, horseback riding, hiking, caving, or just to do research on medicinal plants or geology. They can do that. And, we're one of a kind resort in Jamaica, and, no other resort will offer this sort of service.
So for something that just started off as a small villa or a family home has expanded into quite a retreat. How many acres of land does it cover?
Well, the resort is primarily in 2 acres. The ecotourism site is quite a few acres, much larger than the resort itself. About a couple hundred acres. So there's lots of space to run around if you have hyperactive children and kids that need space to move around. The campsite is a place to be. If you're interested in research in the areas of, like I said, geology, tropical plants, botany. If you're interested in history, the campsite is very, nice place to be. The campsite actually sits in a very historic location of Jamaica. That's the area in which the emancipation fight took place back in the 1800s for, emancipation of people of African descent from plantation owners. So it's very important to us historically, and we are now seeking donations and assistance or collaborations from outside agencies that are interested in history, to come on board to assist us in setting up a science history museum. This wouldn't be your typical science history museum. This museum, will concentrate primarily on genealogy. So, what we're trying to get done there is to restore broken family ties from the 1800s. That is, folks who have came here through the Middle Passage, that have worked on a number of plantations, folks who are separated, from their family members during the slave trade, could now come to the museum and have the DNA done to see if other folks in the areas are related. So it gives an opportunity to reestablish old family ties from the old days. I don't think there's anywhere else in the world that is doing something like this, but I think it's very important, and primarily due to the fact that Jamaica was used as a slave hub. Most of the slaves were taken to Jamaica and then transported to North America and other parts of the Caribbean. Most likely, you'll then have families separated during those sale transactions. So it's, some of those things, I think, before I die, I'd like to see get established and, improve heritage tourism in Jamaica. This could create a level of empowerment, economic empowerment for folks, and this could reduce a great deal of marginalization of how people in diaspora would feel, by knowing, their roots and regaining lost family ties. I think this would be very good psychological medication for people that are separated. So it could only enhance their lifestyle. Our intentions here is to bring that to the forefront. So if you know an aunt or an uncle that are interested in this sort of thing, definitely can have them contact us.
Sure. Anybody that's interested in looking into their DNA and looking further into their roots.
Yes, definitely.
In terms of people being in the diaspora and seeing more and more people like yourself come back to Jamaica and investing and, leaving something behind for the next generation is something that's quite inspiring, and hopefully will have a knock-on effect of other people out there that are maybe thinking, considering. But I think the big question for a lot of people is, especially living in the diaspora for so many years, coming to Jamaica and they're not sure about the economy, how stable it is. What was it like for you? I mean, how many years did you live outside of Jamaica?
Well, I left here for over 30 years, 30 odd years. I normally come back, quite often, a couple of times per year, maybe 3 or 4 times a year, because I lived in New York, so it was, pretty close, and the airfare wasn't that bad as compared to traveling from Europe. So it's pretty easy for me to come here. So I give me the opportunity to look around and see how to access the different municipalities that I'll need to do business with when I'm here, and allow me to get back into the culture, because leaving here as a child, as a teenager, you tend to lose, contact with your culture, your friends, and also some of your family members. So it's important if you're trying to come back to Jamaica, so come a few times and see how the country is, see how the vibes is, and get used to a slower pace of life. And try to get adjusted slowly. It'd be kind of difficult to just get up and leave and come here. It may take a bit of adjustment, but I think if you don't compare, if you try to avoid comparing Jamaica with where you lived, where you came from, I think that will help in terms of getting you assimilated here. It's quite different.
So you had the family land all along, right? You didn't come to Jamaica and then go about purchasing the land. You had the land in your family before?
Quite a bit of our property here, family owned. Some of the land that we have here, of course, was bought. It's important for folks to come back to get a piece of Jamaica, particularly people who have grown up here and left Jamaica, because there's so many other people from all over the world coming here to invest and even to buy a home or a summer home. It's almost imperative to me for people in diaspora to come and purchase a piece of the rock before it's all gone. The north coast of Jamaica is really just about sold out. It's very difficult to find a piece of land on the North Shore, particularly on a seaside view. There's a lot of development that's slated for the North Shore of Jamaica. There's also some development that's also slated for the southern shores of Jamaica and the St. Elizabeth area. So I wouldn't say, if I were you, and I have families in England and they may have some land here, I wouldn't just rush to go sell your property. Jamaica real estate value never depreciates. It appreciates quite often. I think that would be the best interest of landowners to hold on to their property
and invest at some point in time. So how did you go about the whole construction process for the resort? Were you in Jamaica for the whole process from start to finish?
Well, the construction process was it's a learning experience. Initially, I was in New York while things were going on, but there are certain things that happened that really caused me to come back home to really supervise what's going on. It's like when the cat's away, the mice play.
Yeah.
So I'd say to anybody, if you're building a home or a business in Jamaica, it's a major investment. And I think you should always be around, no matter if it's family supervising your construction, but you should be always around to see what's going on. During the entire construction period, or what most people do now is that they construct their businesses or their building in certain segments, that they'll buy the necessary building materials that will last for the time they'll be in Jamaica, and just utilize all those products in order to avoid, possible, misappropriation of their building supplies.
I see.
So I think that's a wise move.
That's a good plan. Yeah,
a lot of hardwares here will work with you in terms of you can buy most of the building supplies that you would need, and they can keep it for you, and then you'll use it whenever you need it. That you go back to the store and let them know you need 10 bags of cement now, and they'll send it over.
Okay.
So, and you do that. People do that in order to avoid the escalating prices of building materials here. So you'll buy your materials and lock in the rate at that given time period.
Right. And they just manage dispersing the materials to you and act as kind of a warehouse as well, where you can store and hold the material until you're ready. How did you go about selecting builders and project managers for the actual build of the resort?
So what you do, what we did was basically we interviewed quite a bit of builders, contractors. We do a lot of word of mouth. We'll check persons' references by asking other persons, if they've worked for them in the past, what type of person is that, what type of character that person has. So you want to check out a person's background, and you don't want to rely on just friends or family, opinions. I think you have to do your own thorough investigation. Because remember, you're the one that's spending your hard-earned dollars.
So were there any major setbacks in the whole project, or anything that you could have avoided or you would have changed?
Well, the only thing that I think I could have changed was the start of construction when I was here on the island, and not the start of construction while I was still in New York.
Okay.
You can't necessarily trust everybody, and just like living in a big city, you just have to take the necessary precautions, like you're living back in England or anywhere else. You can't you can't take things for granted, not because it's Jamaica and you're home, you're going to take things for granted. You just have to, be smart in the way you do things. And, what you can do is take your own assessment of what your building costs would be. Go to various stores and shop around and find out how much it costs to buy, 100 blocks or some cement, or how much does it cost for 10 boxes of tile or nails. So you know beforehand, what the prices are, instead of relying on a carpenter or a contractor to tell you what the prices are. So it gives you an idea in terms of how much to buy. So I wasn't involved in technical things like building and things like that. I think you really have to get an education if you're thinking of building a home here. And try to take things in your hand in terms of knowing the prices. Because if you have a certain dimensional room, you want to know how many tiles it's going to take to complete that room. You don't want to rely on somebody else's suggestions. Then it will be easy.
You can do the calculations. You hear all sorts of stories of people adding a few extra tiles so they could lay their bathroom at home. So it's just taking these precautions and ensuring you're managing the project and your eyes and your ears are involved in every aspect, I guess.
Yeah, true.
So did you ever get to a point where you just said, you know what, this is enough, you're not going to bother go ahead with the whole project, and to just give up on it?
No, not at all. No, I've never really thought about giving up. I've always wanted to come back since I left Jamaica, and I'm a person that's very determined in whatever I do. You will have issues along the way, but if you love this place and if you love what you're doing, and if this is your goal, I think you cannot let somebody else dampen your future.
Yes, absolutely.
And so you have to do it with thick skin to maneuver through the various problems that you may run into.
So you've been living in Montego Bay at the resort for how long now?
Maybe 8 years, okay. 8 to 10 years.
With all the competition on the North Coast, and all those big hotel chains, and what's business like?
Well, it's a big difference, and big difference in terms of how the larger hotels market to get their clientele, what type of services they provide. So you really cannot, do not want to compete with the larger hotels. Because they could rent 10 or 12 rooms for $20 a night, because they have 2,000 or 3,000 extra rooms that they can recoup those losses with. So when you're in a smaller resort like this, you just have to, try to provide excellent services, 5-star service. And the people who come to villas are people that want to be more personal with the staff. They want one-on-one attention. They want to be able to go out, come and go as they please, and folks sometimes want to be in an environment where it feels like they're at home, but at the same time they're having a vacation. They're staying in the resort. So the villas in Jamaica provide a totally different type of service Some people, they'd rather not be in an area where there's 100, 200 other people running around. We do quite a bit of weddings here, and naturally, people want their own personal space and an area where there's lush vegetation and, without interruptions to have their weddings. So, you try to offer rates that are pretty much flexible as far as, each guest budget, because you have to bear in mind the recession is just finished, but people are still concerned about their budget and how much money they spend. You try to have as much flexibility as possible.
Sure.
But again, you have to think that you're running a business also.
Right. It's almost like you get the 5-star on a smaller, intimate scale. It's an incredible resort. It's really, really stunning. You must look back and think, wow, look what I've created.
Well, like I said, this is something that I've always wanted to do. So it's like your dream, your childhood dream is unfolding in front of you. So it gets a bit overwhelming at some points, overwhelming in terms of emotional.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it gives you the energy and the impetus to go on and try to improve on what you're doing. Because this is your baby, and this is something that you've always wanted to do for so many years.
Do you have a lot of family support in terms of running the business?
I'm here. I primarily do everything by myself. I have, some support staff who are very supportive. Children are away in college, so, but try to surround myself with positive people and, friends that, see my vision in terms of what I like to do as far as this resort at the villa here and also at the campsite. We talk a lot and we brainstorm and we try to use one another as a support system. So, you can do a business. You don't have to rely necessarily on family. You just have to find the right people around you. It may take some time, and you may have to do a lot of things on your own because this is your concept, is your idea. So and that's basically how I look at it.
As long as you have the right people who share the same vision, no matter who they are, friends or family. And you also have the rehabilitation center or the rescue center for the horses as well?
Horse rescue, yes. I loved animals since I was a child. I had quite a bit of animals, from dogs, cats, birds, gold pigs. So, I was an animal lover as a child. So it was always my dream to own a horse, particularly an Arabian stallion. I just haven't got one of those yet. So,
no, not yet. I'm sure it's coming, yeah.
But, they love those horses. Love of horses and see neglected horses and, folks that don't want to be bothered with the horses anymore decide to get involved in taking some of these horses to my campsite and, try to take care of them and also to use them for trail riding. And in this case, they'll get proper care and they'll be able to live out their life, their lifetime at the campsite. So I was always an animal lover, and I would recommend to any parents that have children to grow them up, have them grow up around animals. They can take care of animals, and it's a sense of responsibility, and it's also a comforting type of feeling when you have an animal where you could project your love towards and watch the animal grow, and you can learn quite a bit about raising animals. So I think it's a good idea for folks to give their children pets. If you live in a big city, you won't be able to have a horse, but try something that can fit in your home environment.
If somebody is interested in having a horse in Jamaica, could they sponsor one of your horses and maybe just come and visit that horse at the camp?
Oh yes, yes, indeed, yes, yes. You can sponsor as far as donation of whether it be money or donation in terms of animal feed or medication. Yes, you're always free to come by and check on them. Maybe if you like to take a ride or two, you can also come and do that as well.
Amazing.
And so all folks would need to do is just call us, look at our website, millbrooksresort.jamaica.com. Just check out our website. Again, it's millbrooksresort.jamaica.com. And you'll see our telephone numbers, and just give us a call and let us know if you're interested in making a donation, or actually if you want to volunteer to come and care for the animal. There's always that possibility.
Just get in touch. You hear so many people that are stuck in the diaspora and want to make that move. So it's just really nice to hear these stories that, you've taken yourself away, brought yourself back home, and you've made this dream happen. How did you take yourself away from the US to say, okay, now's the time for me to focus on Jamaica and bring my investment and myself back to Jamaica?
Well, I could never, I wouldn't trade this up for anything in the world. As long as you have a dream, I think you should follow your heart. Obviously you have to try to make the right decisions and be practical about your decisions. But I would recommend to anyone that's living abroad and want to come back home to follow their heart. And do what's going to make you feel better. But I think, naturally, you're the one that's going to be wondering whether if you should have or you could have done this better.
Right.
So exactly. I think it's important to follow your dreams. And if it's your dreams to come back to Jamaica, be practical about it. Think carefully in terms of what you'd like to do. What are the parameters around you that will affect what you're doing? And if what you're doing is something that's going to provide sustainable employment, provide for better well-being for Jamaican citizens, I think it's something that it's worth taking a risk. We all will die eventually. I think what's important for us to each as an individual to do something that's going to make an impact to somebody else's life or to enrich a community. Because oftentimes people leave, but they will still complain about how the situation is back in the homeland, but at the same time, they will never make an effort to contribute to do something that will improve on certain services or their own family life. And I think it's quite ironic, and it's at times very comical and hypocritical that you hear people complain about certain things, but yet they're not willing to put their foot forward to contribute for their own family or the community at large. So,
or the nation, right? It doesn't take much. I mean, like you say, just even sponsoring an animal or help in a development project or a school or a child.
Yeah, it shouldn't be all that difficult. You get yourself online to an organization here. It was easy to come back. You can probably get free boarding if you align yourself with a appropriate organization. There's a number of Jamaicans that live abroad that work in the health services. So if you're interested in providing volunteer work or doing some contribution to the local health services here, I think if you return home periodically and you communicate with folks here, it'll give you a much better sense of satisfaction in knowing that you're giving back and you're contributing something, and eventually when you move back permanently, it'll be much easier for you to assimilate into Jamaican society here.
Okay. Do you have any vacancies at the resort? Because I have a few people inquiring about jobs, vacancies on the island.
Well, we're pretty much full at this time, but we're looking for volunteers at the campsite.
Okay.
So we have a lot of animals there, and we have a lot of landscaping that we're doing. So, folks would like to come down and provide their professional expertise and whether it be landscaping, animals, you're more than welcome. Who knows, you may be able to get a reduced rate in your stay at the campsite. If you like the outdoors, rustic type of environment, we can make it happen for you. It's also, campsite's also a place where, we encourage universities and the research group to come and do research. We have a vast array of, like I said earlier, medicinal plants. Jamaica have more than half the world's medicinal plants, and half of these plants are bioactive, meaning they have some kind of positive interaction with tissue. And so this is like a hidden gem for Jamaica. It's something that if you find appropriate investors, will really can provide sustainable employment for the people in rural Jamaica, which the rural part of Jamaica, the majority of the population lives in the rural part of Jamaica, and improve farming. And it'll be so much better for the ordinary folks.
Well, I thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you very much. I hope I was informative. And
Absolutely.
If you ever need my assistance, please feel free to give me a call.
It's always good to get that first-hand knowledge and information and guidance from people who have done it, and it will be very much appreciated, I'm sure. So I shall see you in a few weeks.
Well, I look forward to seeing you, and I'm sure you'll have a wonderful time here.
Sure.
And please, encourage, everyone, people that, want to come back home, don't be afraid, assess your situation individually and try to follow your heart.
Absolutely. One life to live, and we're not getting any younger, and the days are going by and the years are going by. So, if you're out there and you've been thinking about it, it's time to get your skates on. I really hope this will inspire more and more people out there. So thanks again.
So take care, and nice speaking to you, and I'll see you in Jamaica.
Absolutely.
All right, take care.
Thank you for listening to the Home and Away Show. We'll be back soon with more from the series. If you would like to comment, suggest a topic, or be a guest on the show, send an email to radio@michelledmore.com.
Mr. DJ, do I play bam bam on the TV? Bam